Young drivers nowadays face cars that have never been as cheap, with insurance that's never been as expensive. They want to drive cars like this, Renault Sport Clio 182s, but can only afford insurance on 3-cylinder 1-litre Vauxhall Corsas. So what's the solution? Put up and shut up for 2 or 3 years until you get your no claims discounts? Or is there an option that you could do? You could get some of this, but with not quite as much go. Let's take a look at the car I'm reviewing this week. The Honda Civic Sport. This week I'm taking a look at this insurance-friendly EP2 Honda Civic, specifically modified to look subtly like the legendary EP3 Type R, but instead of a 2-litre 200 brake horsepower engine, this one's been down-tuned to a 1600 but still VTEC, producing just over 100 horsepower. It's a 2005 with 150,000 miles on the clock. And I want to see one of these used and abused 15, 16-year-old hatchers is still up to the mark to get young drivers, young petrolheads into sports cars early. Welcome to another fast and fun video. It's Rich here, and I want to see how fast, or not so fast, and how fun this EP2 really is. Just wanted to take you a quick look at the car. I think Honda have done something that some car manufacturers have been doing for many, many years. I can recall 20 years ago there was the, again, brilliant Citroen Saxo VTS, which was a 16-valve, 1600, 120 horsepower car that weighed probably about 850, 900 kg and was incredibly potent, and it was a real super hot hatch. But Citroen knew it was a young cars market, and so they came up with the VTR, which was just a detuned, only 8-valve, to be more insurance friendly, but looked very similar to the VTS. And Honda have obviously done the same here with this EP2 Sport. Clearly this one, like a lot of sports, have been modified to look like Type Rs, because most of the drivers that drive these cars want the Type R image without the Type R premiums when it comes to insurance. But it is the legendary block of cheese, that wedge of cheese shape, which is just so reminiscent of me for Type Rs. And I think for me, when people talk about Type Rs, it's this shape that I always think of rather than the later FN2. But let's look specifically then about this EP2 Honda Civic Sport. This it's about 16 years old, it's 2005. It's done 152,000 miles, so it's well used and abused. It's clearly got quite a few modifications to it. So it's got the Type R badging, which, again, to my 70-year-old son, it's absolutely, he wants it to look like a Type R. He bought it with it already done. It's got the almost obligatory huge exhaust, which makes my one on my Impreza STI seem very feeble. It's got the tow eye as well at the back. This comes with the almost like BBS imitation alloys. They are 245/45 17s. So 17-inch alloys, quite large tyres on it actually. It only produces 108 brake horsepower, but it's a lovely looking car. Black is never my favourite colour for an older car, because black shows every single mark, blemish with the paintwork, scratches, etc. So it's never a great thing to wear. Again, it's got the toe strap at the front as well, just to make it look more sort of race car inspired. And as I take it round, the headlights are a little bit faded, a little bit foggy. They could probably do with a headlight restoration there. But we didn't pay much for this. So they start really £1,000, even high hundreds, going up to several thousand for obviously cleaner, tidier examples. And I think that's the key, is finding a clean, tidy examples. Not particularly easy on the EP2s. They've generally been used by young drivers. You've got to expect a few blemishes, a few little dents here and there. But I mean, we were comparing this to sort of standard Fiestas, Clios, Corsas, and for me it was a standout. And insurance is okay for such a young driver. If we take a look inside, this again's got a multitude of different changes. The obvious one that stands out there is the steering wheel, the obviously the gear stick knob as well. Radio, again, compulsory really for cars of this age. Young drivers again always expect sort of smartphone connectivity, etc., hands-free kits. And this one, like many as well, have got the Type R seats, and it's a nice feature, I have to say, for these cars. Yeah, you look into the storage again. One of my pet hates is cars that come with so little storage, and I have to say there's absolutely storage everywhere in this car. And I mean, big here for drinks and smartphone holders down there. You've also got somewhere for your smartphone up here on the centre dash, just under your radio. There's a multitude of other little cubby holes as well, the other side of the dash. The white dials as well just show the car off for its intentions. People that buy these cars, they want it to look sporty. So again, the white dials just add something over the sort of the typical Japanese black plastic in here. Mugen power. Splattered at different places around the car. So that's a quick look around. Again, it's got functionality. I don't think young drivers absolutely care about this at all. So again, good boot size, and really it's about what it sounds like, how it goes, and that's what I'm intrigued to know. This is 16 years old. It's clearly had a well-used life. For its 152,000 miles, so it's averaging about 10,000 a year, which is quite a lot. Service records thin and patchy, to say the least. Lots of modifications to the car as well, which again can affect premiums, but also can affect reliability. Only time will see how reliable the car ends up being. But what I'm really interested in is how this car drives. So let's get in the car and let's take it for a spin up the road. Well, let's take this up the road. I think these Type R seats are absolutely great. You can feel lots of nice, good lumbar support. But they're really comfy. They're so huggy around the shoulders as well. They're quite soft and squidgy at the same time. And let's just take away that. And yeah, it's a really good, nice, comfortable driving position, to tell you the truth. The pedals, which I probably didn't show you on the video, they've got new pedals on. So they're quite large actually, and the pedals are really good for sort of heel and toe driving. So yeah, it's pedals are in a nice position. Steering wheel Obviously, it's a modified one. It comes out at you, so you're driving more with your shoulders, which in theory is what you should be doing anyway. So yeah, it's and the gear stick, I think, of all sort of Type Rs, the EP2, EP3, or EP3 Type R, the one thing that most people remember is the gear stick coming out of the dash. And it's such a logical place because literally your hand just falls from the steering wheel and you're straight on the gear stick. A lot of cars, you're reaching down here, and it's just the natural position. And that's why most sort of race track cars have sort of short shifters that are just off to the left of the steering wheel. So you're just there. It's just a natural position to fall to. I do question why other manufacturers don't do that. Yes, it might look a bit odd when you first see it for the first time, but actually it just seems to be such a logical place to put it. The inside is pretty much reminiscent of what you'd expect of a 15, 16-year-old Japanese car. Yes, there's lots of sort of black plastic and silver plastic that doesn't feel particularly well put together, and fake carbon in different places. And there's a few rattly bits, I suppose, but largely it's okay. It's got a few marks on, but no more than you'd expect with 150,000 miles. So I think it's worn the miles okay, to tell you the truth. There's nothing per se broken, just a few things that are showing just wear and tear, which at least means it's been used. And most importantly, it's a driving position which just feels spot on. What's the first thing you notice about the car? Well, I suppose it is the engine. It's a very revvy type of engine. It'll rev to over 6,000 RPM. Most of that power is just sort of quite linear, plenty in the top end. Really encourages you to rev up through the gears. And yes, although on paper it's only 108 brake horsepower, the car, the EP2 Sport, doesn't actually weigh very much. I'm not sure. I think it was about 1,300 kilograms. So it's quite light for this type of car, and that tells, because actually it makes every use of those 108 brake horsepowers, and it feels a little bit quicker than I was imagining, because the Civic by itself is a sort of a Focus sized car, so it's sort of small family sized car, so it's a larger hatch than something like a Fiesta or a Clio, so you'd expect that to tell. So I'll just turn the heater down, but actually it feels quite perky, and certainly I think for a younger driver it's more than quick enough. What are the other observations? I think the gear change. I mean, this gearbox has gone through 150,000 miles. How many gear changes has that been gone through? Probably 1 million gear changes, and it feels absolutely great. Now, assuming it's on the original gearbox, that just shows you something, and I have to say that's where Honda are very, very good at. I think of all the Japanese cars, it's Honda that has that sort of iconic status, more so than other Japanese marques. The exhaust, I was a little bit concerned that the exhaust note would be a little bit too brash, a little bit too loud, a little bit too in your face, but actually, do you know what? It's bigger than it is loud. You can hear it, but it's not obnoxiously loud. The steering's really good, and that's obviously a trait of what Honda have done with the Civic Type R as well. But it really is. It's lovely and direct. The turning's really crisp. I'm not pushing on too hard here, but you just as you turn in, you sort of heel toe, just drop it down through this right-hander here. It's a long right-hander. Oh, it feels nice. Left, yeah. mean, there's a sequence of corners here. This is, yeah, it's nice. I apologise for if the sun is getting in you, blurring any vision on the camera. It's winter months, the sun's so low. Yeah, but the steering, direct. I'm not saying it's telling me too much about what the front wheels are doing, but it's certainly, yeah, I like it. I like it. Brakes don't feel too good. Brakes just, after a few heavy stops, just already just feeling a little bit spongy. And now that might be, I don't know, I'm not sure the state of the pads and discs. It might be the brake fluid. Don't know when that was last changed. So probably a brake fluid change would work wonders. And again, I don't know about individuals that have got these sort of cars, but as well as, again, engine oil's the always one that people think about, but brake fluid. If you use your car, even if it's not on track but on the road, changing your brake fluid yearly, I always think is a really, really good idea. Brakes are probably the most important thing of any sort of sports car, especially for young petrol heads who want to learn how to drive fast. Then certainly for me, use having better brakes gives you that bit more confidence going through the corners. And again, getting regular brake fluid changes, I would suggest yearly, will do no harm, because brake fluid by its natural decay collects water, etc., and then that leads to spongy brakes. So, and that may be reminiscent of the result of why I'm noticing that the brakes feel a little bit soft and squidgy. Put the car in fifth gear, took along at sort of 55 miles an hour on a sort of a normal A road, and it just sits along, purring along quite nicely. If you try to accelerate then in fifth gear at 50 miles an hour, you'll find that that's where the lack of power really shows. But to tell you the truth, while you're going up and down the gearbox in your sort of 20, 30, 40 mile an hour speeds, it's absolutely more than adequate for this car. Again, just looking around the dash, it all seems really nice. I mean, the amount of storage, I compare this to my Megane, that's absolutely dreadful for storage. I mean, I'm not sure what pull. I mean, there's another cup holder there that I've just found on the right hand side that pulls out. You've got a coin bin there. You've got another coin bin there. You've got a slot there for phones. You've got the passenger's got something. You've got something there for coins. You've got this massive sunken flipping storage compartment. Another couple of drink holders. Another bit there for your coins. Another slot. Rear passengers. Flipping, there must be about 10 storage compartments in this car. What's my summary of the car then? I think people can look at the EP2 Sport and say it's all about the way it looks and not about the way it drives, but because it's all people that want a Type R but can't afford one for various reasons. And I think that's missing the point, to tell you the truth. I think the EP2 Sport, although it will naturally always be compared to the Type R, like I have done on numerous times through this video, it's a very different car, all because of that engine. And you drive it differently, and I think it's a really good car in its own right, and I think it should be congratulated. Honda should be congratulated for creating it, because it's got a lot to offer. Yes, it's got the great wedge-shaped look of the Civic that we all know and appreciate, but it's much more than just the way it looks. I think the direct, crisp steering, the way it rides, it's incredibly comfortable. And you've got to say there's a huge degree of practicality. You can get two grown adults in the back and, should you wish, a load of luggage or supermarket shopping in the boot. So there's a whole degree of practicality that sits around this, wrapped in a package that, 16 years on, is incredible value for money. as I say, you can pick up these for less than £1,000, but certainly £1,000 to £2,000 are going to get you a okay car. The hardest thing of all is going to be trying to find one that's not being absolutely hammered, used and abused. But if you can find one, then you could have the hallmarks of a really, really good car. And my view is, as a stepping stone into a higher performance car, certainly in your early years as a younger petrolhead, then I don't think you can go much wrong. This is affordable. This is my 17-year-old is driving this car now. So he's going to learn to drive this over the next few years, learn to appreciate sports cars, performance cars, learn his own skills with the car. And then when he steps up to something faster and quicker, he'll be more ready for the performance that goes with it. The only thing I would caution is it isn't very quick. So do not expect that 108 brake horsepower to haul this to anything other than moderate type of acceleration. But it's quick enough for the majority of the time. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed the review. If you have, as always, give me the thumbs up, please. Please subscribe because it's really important. And stay tuned because there'll be another video coming up next week. See you soon.